We were actually the first ones here with vehicles at least. There are 3 Bearcats on scene here.
On June 21st, 2025, the quiet suburb of Mount Vernon, New York, stood frozen in the pre-dawn mist. At exactly 5:17 a.m., an unmarked FBI convoy rolled through its tree-lined streets, their engines a low hum against the silence. Their destination, the modest, well-kept home once owned by Janice Combs, mother of Sean Diddy Combs, the hip-hop mogul whose empire wants to find an era. Armed with an emergency search warrant, agents moved with surgical precision, bypassing the front door's lock and descending into the basement. What they uncovered beneath the wooden floorboards would not only unravel Diddy's legacy but expose a chilling network of secrets that stretched from Hollywood's glittering heights to the darkest corners of human exploitation. In the cold, damp earth, hidden under layers of reinforced concrete, lay the remains of 3 bodies, 2 adults and 1 minor, wrapped tightly in industrial plastic, their decay filling the air with a putrid stench that forced even seasoned agents to pause. Nearby, a half-burned leather notebook bore cryptic symbols, fragmented dates, and initials that hinted at something far more sinister than a single crime. A grainy photo, leaked to the internet hours later, spread like wildfire, igniting a question that echoed across the nation: what horrors had Diddy buried beneath his own mother's home? This is the story of Diddygate, a scandal that began with a raid but grew into a reckoning, exposing a system of power, silence, and complicity that had thrived in the shadows for decades. The FBI's operation was no routine search. For months, a multi-agency task force, comprising the Department of Justice, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, and criminal psychology experts from Quantico, had been piecing together a puzzle. Insider tips, intercepted communications, and anomalies in financial records pointed to Janice Combs' home as a critical node in a sprawling investigation. The warrant was specific: search the basement, leave no corner untouched. 2 hours into the raid, a forensics unit arrived with ground-penetrating radar. The machines hummed as they scanned the floor, revealing irregular shapes beneath. Agents pried open wooden panels, their crowbars splintering the silence. The air grew heavy with decay, and as the first body was uncovered, its limbs contorted, its plastic wrapping stained with time, the gravity of the discovery sank in. 2 more bodies followed, an adult male and a minor, possibly female, their skeletal remains bearing signs of trauma. Dr. Elena Voss, a Quantico ritual crime specialist, surveyed the scene and noted the deliberate arrangement of the bodies, describing it as almost ceremonial, like a message meant to be hidden forever. The notebook, found wedged between concrete slabs, contained pages of scattered writings, dates from 2008 to 2014, initials like KB and SL, and circular symbols that mirrored those associated with underground cults. Within hours, social media was ablaze. Hashtags like #BasementBodies and #DiddyCoverup trended globally, amassing millions of posts. A resurfaced 2010 interview clip of Diddy, speaking cryptically about sacrifices no one dares to name, fueled speculation. Fans were torn, some demanded justice, others accused the FBI of targeting a black icon for political reasons. But one detail silenced the noise: a small body matched the description of Kiara B., a 19-year-old dancer who vanished in 2014 after working with Diddy's event team. Her case, closed for insufficient evidence, was reopened as a homicide investigation. The FBI requested DNA samples from her family, and the nation braced for answers. The bodies weren't just evidence, they were people with lives cut short. Samantha Lee, a 24-year-old freelance model, was identified through dental records. In 2010, she attended a private event in the Hamptons tied to Bad Boy Records, Diddy's music label. She was last seen leaving with a group of stylists and assistants from his production team. Her family, led by her mother, Carla Lee, fought for years to keep her case alive, but the police dismissed it, citing no sign of foul play. Carla's voice trembled in a recent interview. "They told me she ran away. My Samantha would never leave us. Now I know why." The second body, a male in his late 20s, bore a fractured jawbone, matching a 2012 medical report from a Bronx hospital. The report described a street dancer, Marcus M.J. Johnson, who sought treatment after an assault at a private party allegedly linked to Diddy's network. The case was ruled of personal dispute, and the medical file vanished from hospital archives. Marcus's sister, Tasha, recalled his fear in their last conversation. He said he saw something he shouldn't have. He was trying to get out. The third body, a minor aged 14 to 16, showed signs of malnourishment and blunt trauma. Forensic experts are still working to identify her, but her small frame and a braided bracelet found nearby suggest a young girl caught in a world far beyond her control. Human rights activists launched Project Echo, an online database to track missing persons tied to the entertainment industry. Samantha's photo appeared first, alongside placeholders for the unidentified victims. The caption read, "If you know their names, speak now." The FBI's profiling unit uncovered a chilling pattern. Over 15 years, 27 individuals, mostly young models, dancers, and assistants with informal ties to Diddy's events, had vanished without a trace. Only 3 cases led to prosecutions, all dismissed for lack of evidence. A senior investigator noted, "We're not looking for isolated crimes. We're tracking a system that preyed on the vulnerable." As the investigation widened, witnesses began to break their silence. A former stage assistant, speaking under the alias Alex, described a hidden storage area in a Los Angeles property linked to Diddy. The room, secured with infrared cameras and magnetic locks, was accessible only to Diddy or his senior managers. "It wasn't for props or equipment," Alex said. "It felt like a vault, but for what? I was too scared to ask." The layout matched Janice Combs' basement, suggesting a network of fortified spaces designed to conceal. A 2010 photo, allegedly from a masked party at a Diddy-affiliated property, went viral. The image showed shadowy figures in ornate masks, with some users claiming to recognize Diddy and other celebrities in the background. Though unverified, the photo fueled public outrage. How many knew, and how many stayed silent? A former bodyguard, now in witness protection, provided guest lists from 5 restricted access parties held between 2008 and 2013 at properties in Georgia, Miami, and Turks and Caicos. The lists included A-list musicians, actors, a state senator, and a prominent fashion designer who recently fled to Monaco under a diplomatic passport. The FBI followed the money. A Bahamas estate, owned by an offshore company tied to Diddy's former tour manager, drew scrutiny. Satellite imagery revealed covert structures, including a lion head statue matching a tattoo seen on a celebrity who vanished from public life in 2021. Financial records uncovered $11 million funneled through cryptocurrency wallets, cashed out in the Dominican Republic, Nigeria, and Malta. The account was opened using the passport of a dancer believed dead since 2012, a man who performed in Diddy's 2012 live show. The trail led to a Vancouver studio that hired amateur actors through Craigslist, an unusual practice that raised red flags. A leaked email from the studio mentioned special projects funded by a Combs Enterprises subsidiary. On June 23, a 4-minute call intercepted between a satellite phone and Diddy's legal team shifted the investigation's trajectory. A man's voice, calm but urgent, warned, "If he talks, more people are going to the grave." The audio, now classified, suggested a conspiracy far larger than one man. Agent Ruben Tate, a veteran of dismantling entertainment industry crime rings, took command. Known for exposing a West Coast record label's money laundering scheme in 2017, Tate assembled a team to trace connections between celebrities, politicians, and underground financial systems. The investigation turned to Quincy Taylor Brown, Diddy's adopted son. A BlackBerry, thought destroyed but found in a storage unit registered to a former production assistant, contained encrypted messages, photos from private events, and a chilling audio file. In it, a woman's screams pierced the silence, followed by a man's command to lock the door. Quincy's voice, barely audible, whispered, "This is getting out of hand." Under federal protection, Quincy testified for 6 hours before a grand jury, submitting audio files from 2016 that implicated singers, producers, and a former government official. His testimony sent shockwaves through the public, with #QuincyKnows trending worldwide. In a Manhattan detention center, Diddy was caught on camera murmuring, "Don't let them take Mom," for 47 minutes. Lip-reading experts described it as a plea, not a defense. Was he shielding Janice Combs, his mother, or protecting a deeper secret? A former housekeeper, Maria Delgado, who worked at Janice's home from 2015 to 2017, came forward. She recalled strange men moving sealed boxes from the basement at night, some carrying surveillance equipment. Fired after asking questions, she received a Rolex and an envelope with a note, "Don't." Maria's statement, now under verification, could shatter the narrative that Janice was unaware of her home's secrets. Forensic teams returned to Janice Combs' basement, their excavators cutting through layers of rebar-reinforced cement, a construction technique used in soundproofed recording studios. 6 more skeletons were uncovered, bringing the total to 9. One bore rope bindings, with frayed strands of hair and a fragment of fabric from an undated uniform. Another held a medical ID bracelet from a Brooklyn rehabilitation center, closed in 2006 after a gang abuse scandal. A restored audio clip, extracted from a decayed hard drive, captured a man's hoarse whisper, "I don't want to go back. Diddy made me." The clip ended with a muffled pop, like a recorder being switched off. Carved into a brick wall, etched so deeply the mortar crumbled, was a message, "Tell my mother I tried." The Department of Justice, partnered with Interpol, audited financial transactions from 2004 to 2016. Funds from Diddy-affiliated entities flowed to rehab facilities, artist training centers, and charities that later faced lawsuits or vanished. A DOJ spokesperson declared, "This is a fully funded criminal enterprise, protected by media, financial, and political forces." A former prosecutor, linked to a Combs-funded charity in the Bronx, now faces investigation. Non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, signed by industry elites, including a Netflix executive and a fashion designer, surfaced in a biometric encrypted safe at a Midtown law firm. One NDA allegedly settled a television production scandal involving a minor. A female witness, Sarah, testified about being held in the basement for 3 days after a Manhattan party in 2011. "They told me I couldn't leave," she said. "When I screamed, they played Diddy's music so loud it drowned me out." Forensic analysis confirmed the basement's walls were engineered for reverb, a technique used in recording studios to amplify sound. A protected persons list, reconstructed from shredded documents, named 12 high-profile figures, a sports star, 2 state politicians, 3 Grammy-winning producers, under security handling codes with instructions to contact via burner line. The Diddy case is no longer about one man, it's a mirror reflecting a corroded culture. A Media Justice Institute survey found 68% of Americans believe no celebrity is above justice, and 74% demand the release of NDAs tied to Diddy's network. Former assistants, bodyguards, and production staff have come forward, their stories painting a picture of a system built on intimidation. A video production assistant, GL, submitted 17 clips from private parties, some showing celebrities unaware they were being filmed. 3 clips had women's faces digitally erased, prompting the FBI to launch an identification effort. A former assistant at Janice Combs' home, Thomas Reed, recalled heavy, unlabeled boxes moved from the basement to a truck at night. Fired after asking if they contained music equipment, he received a Rolex and a note, "Don't." Thomas's testimony, corroborated by security footage, suggests a logistics network for concealing evidence. A shadow account, traced to a shell company in Nassau County, paid for digital post-production services. The company's head, a former New York State Court counsel, was suspended from practice. In Washington, D.C., the Senate Oversight Committee probed financial ties to legal advocacy groups, uncovering $3 million transferred from an account in Janice Combs' name to a group within the American Civil Liberties Union network. The funds, funneled through multiple corporate layers, raised suspicions of orchestrated legal shields. A former bodyguard, Marcus Block Williams, demanded immunity in exchange for a 37-page declaration. He described a 2007 incident where a young woman tumbled down the stairs at Diddy's private mansion. No hospital records exist, and the ambulance that took her away had no lights or siren. She was never seen again. The investigation expanded to 13 properties once owned by Diddy-affiliated entities, sold at nominal prices within 90 days of reported disappearances in Florida, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Satellite data showed unannounced private jet landings at the Bahamas estate, often at odd hours. A former pilot, speaking anonymously, described transporting VIP guests to the island under strict confidentiality. "We weren't allowed to log names," he said. The manifests were blank. A new witness, Lena Carter, a former makeup artist, came forward with a diary from 2009. She detailed a casting event in Miami where young women, some as young as 15, were vetted for private performances. Lena was fired after questioning the process, receiving a $10,000 severance and a warning to stay silent. Her diary, now with the FBI, lists names of attendees, including a music executive who later committed suicide in 2019. The FBI is cross-referencing her entries with missing persons reports. Project Echo's database grew to 42 cases, each tied to Diddy's network. A mother, Anita Brooks, spoke of her son, Devin, a 22-year-old aspiring rapper who vanished in 2013 after signing a short-term deal with a Combs-affiliated label. "He called me, scared, saying he'd seen things," Anita said. "Then he was gone." Devin's jacket was found in a dumpster near a Diddy-owned studio, but the case was closed. It's now reopened, with forensic teams combing the site. The FBI's investigation, now federal in scope, targets a closed-loop network of rental homes, fake identities, and disguised casting events. Agent Tate's team maps a web of media companies, charitable foundations, and real estate funds, all linked to Diddy. A $2.8 million wire transfer to a Vancouver studio, tied to a Combs subsidiary, funded projects that hired vulnerable individuals under false pretenses. A leaked email from the studio mentioned cleaning up loose ends after a 2014 event. In a rare press conference, the Eastern District of New York's U.S. Attorney, known for dismantling the NXIVM and Epstein networks, stated, "This case transcends one individual. It's about an ecosystem that enabled and concealed heinous acts." Diddy's legal team moved to seal the records, citing prejudice to his trial, but the judge rejected the request, prioritizing public interest. Case files, released piece by piece, include testimonies from those once silenced. A former intern, Maya, described being locked in a soundproof room during a 2012 party. "They said it was for VIPs only," she said. "I heard screams through the walls." Public outrage has shifted the cultural landscape. Protests outside courthouses demand transparency, with signs reading "Justice for the Forgotten." Independent journalists, amplified by Project Echo, have compiled archives of overlooked cases. A viral petition, with 1.2 million signatures, calls for a congressional investigation into law enforcement's role in dismissing early complaints. The hashtag No More Silence trends alongside images of Samantha Lee, Kiara B., and the unnamed minor, their faces a haunting reminder of justice deferred. The basement in Mount Vernon wasn't just a crime scene, it was a tomb for forgotten voices. Samantha Lee, Kiara B., Marcus Johnson, Devin Brooks, and countless others were silenced by a machine of power, wealth, and fear. But their remains, unearthed after decades, speak louder than ever. The carved message, "Tell my mother I tried," is a testament to their resistance, a plea that justice might outlive their pain. This is a rare moment where truth, law, and outrage converge. The public demands accountability, not just for Diddy, but for an industry that profited from silence. A Media Justice Institute survey shows 74% of Americans support exposing NDAs tied to Diddy's network, and 68% believe no celebrity is above the law. The forgotten are no longer invisible. Their names echo in courtrooms, on social media, and in the hearts of families who never stopped searching. Share this story. Speak for those who cannot. Prove you're listening. Because if justice prevails, the empire of silence will collapse, and the victim's legacy will endure. The bones beneath Mount Vernon whisper a truth long buried. Someone finally came to dig them up. The question now is whether America will keep digging, or let the storm of outrage fade, as so many have before.